Hello, this is Mark from I Am Organic Gardening, and welcome to my update. We're currently in the fall, in the middle of October in 2017 in Zone 6B, and it's been 2 years since I laid these wood chips down. So what did I learn in the last 2 years? I'm going to be going over in this film, and I want to start first by going over Comfrey, which is a great perennial that can grow in your garden, but versus what we call is a weed, but we're going to unclaim that as a weed today. Comfrey versus Dock. And like I said, Dock they consider an invasive weed, but I do not, and we're going to compare the two together and see if that helps my back to Eden garden. And if you're new to my channel, I've done something different than the traditional back to Eden garden. I have 3 rows here that are raised beds with perennial roots in there, which is the spot where all the alfalfa and clover and strawberry plants and dock and also comfrey is growing. So what is a dock plant? Dock is spelled D-O-C-K. They say on Google it's a medicinal herb, and the leaves are used to soothe burns, blisters, and nettle stings. So here we have a good example on my right hand side here. This is a comfrey plant that I propagated from a cutting, planted it up last fall, and it grew into this beautiful plant this year. But on my left hand side, this plant is what we consider a weed, or by definition weed, and that is called dock. Now they look very similar to each other. Both are perennials that will come back year after year. Both are considered a herb also too, which is very nice. And over the years, you've heard a lot about comfrey. Comfrey is what the permaculturists call a great plant to have in a garden, like almost the #1 plant, because it has a deep taproot, and those taproots go down, and they say that it brings up all these minerals back to the plant, which in turn you can pull the leaves off of it and add it around to the base of the plant, or make a compost tea or brew out of it and let that settle for, let's say, a few weeks, and then add those nutrients back to any other plants like your tomatoes or anything else you have in your garden. Now we have our so-called weed. Now I'm not considering this a weed because it is a herb, and it does do some medical benefits to the human body. Now also too, if it's considered a herb, what's really nice about it, as in both of them use mycorrhizal fungi to enhance the soil, to go out and distribute nutrients to other plants. Plus, this one also has a taproot that can go very deep too. I don't know the exact depth, but digging out in the ground, I've seen them go 5 or 6 feet deep also. Now, what's also important about this is that I get that for free because it's a weed on my farm. Now, I've been trying to dig it out and trying to kill it over the years, but I see that it's beneficial to the soil because it's making a hole that can go down, like I said, anywhere from 4 to 6 feet, pull up those nutrients, and when the leaves die off, and I don't want it to go to seed, all those nutrients are still in the leaves and then brought back to the top of the soil, just like our comfrey. So both things are doing the same exact thing. But the only difference that I know is that comfrey has a beautiful flower on it, and when this blooms or makes seeds, it doesn't quite have the same characteristics as a nice flower, and the bees don't come to it compared to as much as the comfrey. But that's the only thing you can see the difference of. Now, there's been probably a lot more research on the comfrey because people have been talking about it. It is a beautiful plant, and it is great to have in the garden. But my other thing here, which is dock, the weed itself is doing the same thing that the comfrey plant is doing that I needed to do in my garden. So I'm not really ashamed of having it grow there. I thought it was, at one time, I thought it was comfrey, but this variety here is called Broadleaf Dock. You can tell by the sides of the leaves there. And there's different types. There's narrow leaves, and there's 2 other ones too. But they do a very good job in loosening up your soil, keeping it aerated, and allowing your plants to grow. So this way, you can actually plant around it if you want to. If I want to plant a squash plant here or in front of it, it's not going to get in the way, and that perennial weed is going to do the same thing as comfrey. Here on my outside edge of my back Eden garden, I have several of these dock plants growing. So I want to dig up this first plant and let's see how deep that taproot is or how big it is. So here's my dock plant. I removed a couple of the leaves out front here, and you can see right here that taproot that's starting. It's kind of a dark yellowish orange taproot that goes down here into the hard, very hard clay soil. It was very difficult digging into it. Now what's nice about this is that once that taproot goes down in there, so can water and everything else to follow to help grow and build soil. And that plant will feed all the soil organisms down there and also bring up nutrients to the top. So on the top of our plant here, when this all dies off this winter here, our top part here, this will leave all the nutrients that it brought up all year long on top of our wood chips again, or into our rows for our plants next year. So let's dig the whole plant out now and see if there's more than one taproot. Since it's a decent sized plant, I believe there's going to be more than one. So I think I can break it off with this last shovel that I have underneath here and pop it up. There we go. Now you can see that clay soil right here on the side that I'm pointing to, right here, how hard that clay is, and that's our main root in there. So let me shake it off and I'll see if we can see it better. So that's our enormous dock root in there. Has several tap roots going down and opening up that soil just like Comfrey does. So it's just nice to see that there's more than one plant you can have in your garden. And if you're in the area and you have dock as a weed, it's not so much a weed if it's growing your soil for you. So here I have my beautiful dock weed and roots after I cleaned the soil off of it. And I just hope in this video I showed you that nature always has other things helping the soil. It's not just certain plants. It's every plant that's out there nature developed to help grow our soil. And this is another prime example where Comfrey that we thought is so important to have, which it is, it's a great plant, but also there's also other relatives to it or sisters or brothers to it, and this is called dock. So it's another thing that we might not see as very friendly in our garden, but I hope I showed you that it can be with these large roots. It can be maintained the same way as a Comfrey plant, and it's easy to get seeds from. It's a weed and it's very inexpensive to grow and to manage. I want to thank you very much for watching today's video and taking time out of your day to do so. If you haven't done so, please subscribe, and I'll get right back to you with another video very shortly. Thanks.